Happy Tuesday. Today's State of the Heart. We are talking about miracles. Miracles. A miracle isn't always loud. It doesn't always come wrapped in some pretty little cute bow. Sometimes it just basically looks like survival, seriously. Like, one more breath, please, just one more breath. Or breathe, please breathe. I was able to witness that this past year when my grandson stopped breathing. Right after he was born, we were home. Scariest situation of my life, but he is definitely a miracle. A miracle is survival. I'm a miracle. We have so many miracles in our life. Like one more breath, that breath that was breathed right into him, and making it through the night. I know some of us are just trying to just get through one more day. Yesterday I was arguing with somebody. I would say arguing because we don't agree, but some people were being very ugly on Facebook because I got locked in my storage unit, and I am like the person that least feels entitled to anything. I get shit, seriously. But I was upset because I was locked in and I couldn't get out. And a lot of you know about my past trauma when I was taken and stuff. So I get pretty, how can I say, traumatized at night easily. But feeling that feeling of feeling stuck and like you can't get out, that's a scary feeling. So anyway, some lady brought up that she had cancer, and I felt so bad. I felt bad for her. I felt bad knowing what she's struggling with, wondering and hoping and praying for a miracle for this complete stranger. Seriously. Nobody likes to say this out loud, the truth. And the truth is that we can pray and pray and pray, and nothing changes. It just, we ask again later maybe, and still nothing moves, nothing changes. We cry harder. You know, we cry, we believe deeper, we bargain, we start making promises. I know, growing up as a Catholic, we go to San Juan, make our promises over there, plead, and heaven, higher source, feels quiet, almost like we're left on red. That's the part that shakes people, seriously. That's the moment where fear is either gonna crack or it's gonna go deeper. Because a miracle, I mean, it's not a vending machine. It's not, well, I believe, so I'm gonna receive. These cats. Sorry about that, my cats are knocking everything down. But what I was saying is that we don't get things just because we believe them. We don't get those miracles. They're not handed to us. A miracle is actually, well, the card says here, a miracle is a transformation that defies logic. I forgot my readers. I apologize. I can't see. So, showing you the infinite possibilities of the world. There's a lot of possibilities. When a miracle appears, it reminds you to maintain faith, for anything is possible. And a miracle, we never know. It might just be around the corner. We don't know. We want to hope so, though, right? So a miracle is divine timing colliding with divine purpose. Seriously. And sometimes what we think is the miracle isn't the assignment. But then there are those moments, the ones that make your whole body go still. When everything said, hey, this isn't going to work out. It's not going to happen. All the odds, they're stacked. The charts, seriously, were written. And the outcome, it looked pretty final. And then, somehow, something shifts. A heartbeat steadies. A fever breaks. A baby cries when they weren't supposed to. A life stays. And you're sitting there like, all right, there is not any logical explanation for this. That's not coincidence. And it's not luck. That's a miracle walking into the room like it owns the place. And when it comes to children, whew, that hits different. And we got that trial of that poor little girl going on today, Athena. And you wonder, why couldn't a miracle have walked in for her? Because there's nothing more sacred than that space between life and death. And watching a child be given the miracle of life anyway, that is definitely going to make a believer out of anyone. But maybe your life has been in jeopardy and you've seen it, you've experienced a miracle, like I have personally. But then there's the things that don't make sense, and you wonder why miracles weren't handed, for the others that deserved them just as much. Okay, sorry, I had to take a break. So, as I was saying, today's State of the Heart, miracles. It's not the kind we post with pretty music and perfect endings, okay? I want to talk about the kind of miracle that makes you question everything first. The kind that it doesn't show up when you beg for it. The kind that makes you sit there and ask, how in the heck am I supposed to believe in anything better when my prayers are not being answered? Because let's be honest, sometimes we pray and nothing changes, no matter how hard and how often we ask again and again and again. I was thinking and talking about Athena earlier, the child, the innocent child, taken in a way that makes your whole body reject the idea of justice. And you wonder, where was her miracle? Where was the interpretation? Where was the moment where something stepped in and said, oh heck, not this child? And if we are being real, it shakes your faith. It makes you question everything you thought you believed about protection and purpose, about God, about miracles. And I'm not going to sit here and wrap this up in some pretty answer, because some things are not divine acts. They're human ones. Cruelty, evil, choice, real people doing real harm. And that matters. Because the absence of a miracle, it's not always the absence of something higher. Sometimes it's the present of something broken, something so wrong. Now, I had to stop because I want to go somewhere personal, because this isn't just a conversation for me. This is something I lived. When I was 18, I was taken from a gas station, overpowered, beaten, choked, sexually assaulted, and my life was slipping away. And there was a moment while it was happening, not before, not after, while it was happening, that my spirit, I felt like it was my body. My spirit was gone from my body. I was somewhere else. And the only way that I could really explain it, it felt like being in a room, almost like a doctor's office. I'll put it that way. There were 2 hallways, and one there and one there. One was really bright. The one on the left was bright, very beautiful, almost like a glowing tunnel. And I was recording this earlier and I lost it, and I started crying because I was remembering what it felt like in that tunnel. And the other to the right, it felt like a little waiting area. Like when you move from one room to the next, like when you're at the doctor's office and they want to take your blood and whatever, and then you go your blood pressure and then you get weighed, whatever, you go to that one room, but then you're actually going to go to another room. It was like I was in that room right next before the final room. I could have gone there. And I remember being there in that place, and my body was actually still being assaulted and beaten and choked. And every now and then I'd come back to my body, but then I'd leave again. Like I knew I was needing to fight and come back. I remember wanting to go down that bright hallway so badly. And what I felt, it wasn't fear. It was peace. It was this, and I had just lost my grandma, and it was this overwhelming sense of being known, of being surrounded by some familiar feeling, like an ancestral presence, sort of, I would have to say, like people who knew me, people I knew, even if I hadn't even met them yet. And I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I wanted to go. And I wanted to go. And then there I was back in my body, and there I was back in my body, back on this earth, back in that moment, and something inside of me knew, you need to get out of this car. The car he had me in. It was a truck, actually. I need to get out of here, or I'm not gonna live. And I did. And I ran. I started opening doors to apartments, and I fought my way back into my life. And I lived. Now, there's something that I want you to understand is what I experienced in that moment, that separation, that peace while my body was still in danger. A lot of people who go through extreme trauma, they're going to describe something like that. There is a lot of people who call it, well, you know what that was? That was the disassociation. Some people are going to call it a spiritual crossing, and some call it being held by something beyond this world. But whatever name that you give it, it protected me long enough for me to live. But surviving doesn't mean it's over. It took me years. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't just exist like everything was normal. I remember making a plan just to get to the mailbox, to get the mail. That was my goal. Just the mailbox. And I would walk out there, I'd see a man, and I'd freak out and run back inside. So I'd do it again. Then it got to a point where there'd be a man and I wouldn't be able to run because he'd be too close to me and I'd have to just freeze. I got stronger because I had to. Because I had a life and I would soon have kids that needed me. But life was still asking something of me. I just didn't know what it was. So when I talk about these miracles, I'm not talking about guarantees at all. I'm not talking about something that always shows up on time, because it doesn't. What I'm saying is this: don't let delayed miracles convince you that miracles don't exist. Because sometimes the miracle isn't stopping the storm. It's the part of you that refused to disappear inside of it. And I don't have an answer for why some children don't get saved. I don't. And anyone who tells you they do is guessing. But I know this: there are moments in this world where something interrupts what should have been the end. And I know that because I'm still here. So if you are in a place right now where you're praying and nothing is moving, and you're questioning everything, I'm not going to tell you, have faith. I'm going to tell you this: even asking again, even hoping again, and even being willing to believe one more time, that might be the miracle working its way through you. Because sometimes the miracle isn't what you expected. It's who you become after everything tried to take you out.